CSIS 2470 is filmed before a live studio audience.
Well, today's lecture is loosely, very loosely, inspired by Carol J. Robot. I've actually got a link for you in the lecture notes so you can check it out there. But we're going to build our own little robot world. So take a look at that right now. Let's take a look at our little sort of poor man's world of Carol J. Robot here. What we've got here are some buttons across the top that will move the robot around, and also some hotkeys that will move the robot around. So right now, if I want to move them, he goes in the direction of wherever he's pointed, or he's pointing north, so I click move, he will go north. If I turn him east, he'll turn east, and then when we move, he goes that way. South, he moves. Turn west, and he moves, he turns that way, and then we move him. And then if I click eat, let's move past that first. If I click eat, nothing happens unless he's actually on the donut. So move, eat, and then he does a cartwheel and ends up in the middle. You'll notice here now that none of these buttons work, except for the reset button. That one does work. Now I'm going to go through the same thing again. This time I'm only going to be using the hotkeys, and that is the spacebar to move the robot, the enter key to eat the donut, the escape key to reset, and then the arrow keys to turn the robot. So space to move up, right arrow turns him to the right. I'll move here and I'll down arrow to go south, and I'm using the spacebar to move. I'm going to go face left, spacebar, face north, spacebar, arrow to the right, and turn left, spacebar. I'm going to hit enter to try to eat, but nothing will happen because he's not on the donut. Turn around, eat, and now he did his cartwheel, ends up in the middle. And now to reset, I can either click the reset button or I can just hit the escape key, and we're back to the beginning. That's it, so buckle up, we're going to build this sucker. It's going to be fun. Enjoy the ride. Well, in order to build what you just saw, we need to learn about event listeners. Now, we've been kind of using event listeners, we just haven't been calling it that, and what we're going to do today is a little bit different. We're going to kind of be doing the grown-up version of what we have been doing, right? So, there's nothing left to it but to do it. As we always say, to the code. So right now, this is all we have for our HTML. We have some CSS written, and we will be tweaking it slightly, but for the most part, this is all done. And then this is our script file, nothing here. So let's go take a look at our robot world, and right now, it's just kind of sad. Poor little robot out there in green space with nothing to do. Excuse me, teal space. All right, so let's take a look at what our code is all about here. Starting right here, we just have two main sections here, and it's sort of weird because they're a main and a section, but two primary pieces, if you will, I guess. So line 9 there is main, and inside of it is a div called world, and that's where we're going to build the robot world. And then the second part there, line 10, is a section that's called the robot's home, and that's where he kind of starts out at. And then we're going to put the image of the robot in there, and that's already where it is. And you'll notice main is, it's there, but you can't really see it on the screen because there's nothing inside of it, just empty divs. So that's the first thing we're going to do, is build the world. So let's take a look at a couple things here that we want to do. Thing number one is we want to build the world, as I just mentioned a second ago. We also are going to need something to control the robot or operate the robot, so operate robot functionality. We're also going to need to place the food, so some food controls maybe. And I think that's really all there is to it for the most part. We'll kind of see as we go along. But operating the robot, that deals with moving up, down, left, right. It's rotating the robot and all those kinds of things that we saw in the demo. So let's start with building the world first. Super easy idea. We just need 100 divs, right? So I mean, I could just go in here inside of this right here, and I could just type div 100 times, right? I can make 100 divs right there. But because of some things I know that we're going to run into in a minute, and just because I want to keep this code a little cleaner, we're going to build them with a loop, right? Simple enough. For I equals 1, I is less than or equal to 100, and I plus plus. The reason I'm starting with 1 instead of 0 is because something we're going to be doing a little bit later. We'll see that when we get to it. Just know for now, rather than going from 0 to 99, we're going to go from 1 to 100. We'll talk about why later. But for now, all I need in the loop now is some sort of a variable that I can concatenate onto. So let's just go let divs equals an empty string. And then in our loop, we'll say divs plus equal div div, right? That'll happen 100 times. And so this div variable at the end of the loop will have 100 divs in it. And then all I need to do is just stick it right here inside of this. So let's just target that by getting element by ID, right? And we can just do let world equal document dot get element by ID world. There we go. Now we have the world. So all we need to do now after we run this loop is just say world inner HTML is equal to divs, right? And that will now add all those divs to the inner HTML. And when I refresh, we now have all the divs. Now you can't see them because you can see them, but you can't see the individual divs. So just briefly, I'm going to put some inline style right here. Border, so you can see them, 1 solid red. Let's do fire brick, that's a fun color, right? So now when I refresh it, you can see we've built a grid of 100 divs. Now, why is it laid out like that? Because in the CSS, I used CSS grid, right? Just real quick, I'll show you that. I'm not going to bother going through the code, but the divs down here in the world is display grid, and I used this right here to get a 10 by 10 grid. That's from the previous class, 1430. You should be somewhat familiar with that. Okay, but now we've got a grid here, right? The other thing you may have remembered in the demo was there was like a cross or something right there in the middle of each div. And so that was just done with a paragraph with a plus symbol. So now we have this. And each of those divs are display flex so that I can use align items and justify content to put those pluses right in the center. So that's our world. I mean, that's pretty much it. So next up, we got to get the robot into the world, right? Right now he's in his own little home, which is sort of outside of the world. And we want to position him in that bottom left square there. Well, I happen to know exactly how far away from that square he is. I did the calculation by just goofing around playing, and it's exactly 100 pixels. So we're going to change the robot's top property to equal 100. It's actually negative 100. We're going to move his top up negative 100. So let's look at what that means here. If I go to the style on the robot, right now the robot is set to position relative. I did that in preparation for what we're about to do. When you set an item to position relative, what that means is if I decide to use the top or the left or the right or the bottom properties, it will move relative to where the robot is supposed to be, right? Well, the robot, just by default of the way HTML works, if you don't mess with the positioning, it will be right there. And that's because right here, this section is below the world, right? And so that's just where he goes naturally. Well, if I were to set position to relative, which I've done, and then say I want the top to be, let's say 300 pixels, what that will do is push it down from the top 300 pixels away from where it is supposed to be, right? Which is not what we want to do, but I'm doing this just to demonstrate the point. So now he's way down here. He's 300 pixels from where he's supposed to be, right? He's supposed to be here. And we just said, hey, push him 300 from the top of where he's supposed to be. Okay. Well, I happen to know that getting him here is negative 100 pixels from where he is supposed to be normally. If I refresh, there he is. That's exactly where I want him. But we're not going to do it that simply. It's going to be simple, but it's going to be a way that we have much more control over things. So take a look at this. Rather than doing it here in the CSS, right, we're going to get rid of that. And we're going to do it using what we learned last time, which is using the style object, right? And so this is easy enough. We're going to need to get that robot a lot. So let's go ahead and make a variable for him. Robot equals document.get element by ID robot. And that's just because that's what I called him right here, right? All right, so there we go. We have the robot now. And all I need to do is say robot style, right? Remember that from last time. And then I want to set the top property. And I want to set it equal to negative 100 pixels. And now when I refresh, he will stay right there where he's at. So now we're on our way. We've got him where we want him. We need to start having the ability to move him around. This is pretty simple so far. So now let's put the buttons in, right? Right above the main section here, the main tag, we're going to put the buttons in. And I've already got them in my copy buffer here. I'm just going to paste them in. And they're nothing complicated here, right? They're pretty straightforward and simple. I have 2 sections worth of buttons. We have the controls, which is how we reset the game, how we move the robot, and how we eat the food. And then we have this one, the arrow buttons, which moves him, just turns him. It rotates him north, east, south, or west. That's it. And so if we refresh the page, you'll now see these are the buttons there. okay? And they're already styled up and ready to go. Now, there's nothing functional here, but there are buttons there now, right? Okay, in the past, when we wanted to click on a button, let's just click on the move button in a minute. Right now, nothing will happen. But we want to eventually make that move up like this because that's the way he's pointed. So what we've done in the past was simply on the move here, we would add an on click and we'd have a function called move or something like that. And we would make that function do the work for us, which we're going to build in just a second. But let's tangent a little bit for just a brief moment of theory here, okay? When the user of your website clicks on anything, anywhere on your page, whether it's a div or the sections or the buttons or an anchor tag or anything, a click event is fired, which is why what we've been doing in the past here on line 12 is saying, well, when the click event fires, do this thing, which in this case is called the move function, right? So whenever somebody clicks on anything, the click event occurs. And when that occurs, nothing will happen other than the event occurred unless we say, hey, let's do something with that occurrence. And so that's what we do on line 12. We say, okay, well, when we do see a click occur, run this function, okay? Now we're going to build the function, but then we're going to come back and change what's going on here. But for now, let's just build the function. It's pretty simple. And so we have a function called move. Right now, the robot is at -100 from where it's supposed to be. Well, I just need him to move to -200, right? So I can literally just do this, but put him at 200. Now, there's 1,000 problems here that I'm sure you're already screaming at your computers or wherever you're watching this. But let's just start here, okay? Refresh it. When I click move, the top property will change from -100 to -200. And if you look over here, let's watch the robot. Right now you can see the top is at -100. When I click move, the robot moved and that value changed to -200. Now, obviously the ultimate goal here is the next time I click move, that value changes to 300. But of course that's not going to happen right now. It's only going to go to 200 every single time I click it. Okay, so how do we fix this? Well, what we need to do is keep track of his position in a variable that we can just increment every time we click the move button, and then assign that variable's value to the top. So for example, we could start off with something like let robot equal -100, like that. And then when we first set up the robot, we can style the robot's top right here on line 14. Now, before we finish this, I'll be the first to tell you, this code is getting a little messy. We're going to clean it up in just a minute. But I just want to throw some spaghetti against the wall and hope a bunch of it sticks just to show you kind of the basics of what we're doing here. But we'll get this code nice and organized in just a minute. Okay, but now when the page loads, lines 5 and 6 are going to run and create the objects for the world and the robot. We're going to create an empty divs variable. We're going to create a variable called robot position at -100. In fact, we want to change that to the robot's top because later we're going to be messing with the left property as well. And then a loop happens where it fills this up with a bunch of divs, and then we stick those divs in the world, and then we style the top position to robot top plus pixel, right? All right, so now when we move, all we need to do every time we click that move button is say robot top plus equals 100, right? Or excuse me, it's going to be negative equals because we're going reducing it, right? And then right here we say robot top pixel. And now the move function works. Now it only moves directly north, but it's a start. So let's take a look here, refresh. And now when I click move, you watch over here on the right and you'll see that -100 will go to 200, 300, 400. And again, remember, right below here, remember the robot was born here, right? And when we first built the page, we automatically moved him up 100 pixels. Where the robot normally is, the top, he's 0 from the top of where he normally is. Well, we wanted to move him -100 from that. So he went above where his top line normally is. Now when we click move, we're going to move him -200. And you can see over there on the right, it flashed. And when I click move again, it's going to go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we do have this problem that he can just break out of the world, right? We don't want that. We'll fix that in a minute. But right now, every time I click move, he only goes north. Well, we want him to go north when he's pointing north. But if he were pointing to the right, east, or to west or south, we want him to go that way when we click the move button, right? So this is where we're going to start building the turning position stuff here. So let's go back and take a look at our HTML. And right now, we could put an on click on all of these. And we could put an on click on all of these. But we're going to do event listeners. We're going to add event listeners to the buttons, right? And that can be done directly in the JavaScript. So let's get rid of this.